Boy child.
Yole. Mnajua kule Central, nimesikia wengine wakisema hapa tuliwaibia. Kuna kaukweli kidogo, lakini mjue kama tulijua kuiba, si hata hii tutafanya nini? Alafu wani wanafikiria wao ndio wajanja, lakini sisi tuko na watu, na baba ametembea kwa watu.
Jana kuna mama moja amesema ati Uhuru na mimi tuliiba kura. Mimi nataka niwaulize nyinyi watu wa Nakuru, kuna kura ya mtu kweli tuliiba? Nyinyi watu wa Nakuru, kuna kura ya mtu tuliiba? Mimi nataka niwaambie watu wa Kuzimia, tafadhali wacheni propaganda na uongo.
We want to know from Azimio leadership, tunataka watu watuambie ni Azimio la umoja ama ni Azimio la wizi wa kura.
And Mr. Kenyatta, the President of the Republic of Kenya, must disassociate himself. Lazima amkane.
Tunataka kuona taasisi ya NCIC inayoongozwa na Reverend Kobia wakimuita kuandikisha statement ni nini anajua juu ya mpango ya kuiba kura.
Viongozi hao wakiwa
All right. Now, those have been the sentiments about those remarks of Sabina Chege, who, I'm sure you heard what she said, and she's expected to appear before the IEBC Electoral Code of Conduct Enforcement Committee this morning from 9 a.m. to respond to what she meant with that. And let me begin with you, Honorable Maoka Maure, because when these sentiments are coming, it's at a time that yesterday there was that meeting between Western Envoys with the government officials, and page 4 of the Standard will give you a litany of some of the things that IEBC has been concerned about. In November, they withdrew from the National Multi-Sectoral Consultative Forum on Election Preparedness, headed by Chief Justice Martha Koome, saying it infringed on its independence. And in a letter addressed to the Interior Principal Secretary Karanja Kibicho, the electoral body's chairman, Wafula Chebukati, said that the commission was not subject to direction or control by any person. And of course, that meeting yesterday was seeking to assure that there will be facilitation of the electoral system and credibility on the side of the powers that be. But when you listen to what Sabina Chege was saying, what do you make of it at such a time that Kenyans are really looking ahead for the general election?
I believe the comments by the member for Murang'a County were reckless and unfortunate. Whatever might have happened in the 2017 general election or any general election, the caliber of Sabina Chege, who never knew anything about them,
Brilliant.
outside the Murang'a counting hall. So when she talks like that, I think it is that excitement of just holding the microphone and trying to compete with those who are in that rally who have said very substantive issues. By the time you are picked to speak, you have nothing to say. So you end up saying anything that comes into your mind, including this kind of talk. Because I believe if the election of 2017, which went ahead to be nullified by the Supreme Court, it was not because of the rigging, it was because of the technical aspects. And in Sifuna, they were in court. Mm-hmm. They didn't talk about the substantive issues about rigging. It is about the technical issues that came up. So I think the kind of talk that came out of Sabina Chege's mouth should be condemned, and they should be relegated to UDA. They are the ones who have been talking about rigging.
What do you mean?
No. It should never be on our Azimio kind of rally. Because UDA for 24/7, they have been talking about anything. Mm-hmm. You know, when you talk so much, you end up exhausting the substantive issues, as I've said. Until now, the only issue they are talking about is, oh, there is a threat of rigging, oh, the deep state has said they are going to do this, without any evidence. And the people who have been in government who know it is not possible to do that, and the IEBC is not part of the deep state. They know it. But it's a way of inciting the people and preparing them. In the case of our laws, ndio ulisikia atuoli akisema miti ikatwe.
Really? No, you're introducing a different matter here.
No.
But let me just ask you, because you've been attending some of those meetings, you called it Azimio. Of course, it's yet to be registered, but there's that arrangement.
Yes.
How do you determine what you're going to tell the people before attending a rally?
No, you know, for some of us, we have experience of many years in these politics. So it is not easy to be told what to say. But we know there are people who sit and agree what to say before they go to the rally. And Azimio is not one of them. You have seen even people arriving late, even with a sequence of even 2-3 hours later. So there isn't actually any format where you are told when you go there, you say this, unless the party leader wants to be the MC, like you know there is a party leader who has been an MC in most of these rallies, whereby he will tell you what, ukiongea kidogo anachukua microphone, ukiongea tena anakuzimia.
So how do you ensure uniformity of message to the people?
No, I think if you talk of the top leadership of the team, those are the people who are the carriers of the message for the day. For example, you have seen what you saw in Nyanza in the last 3 days. The leader of Azimio was not there. But you could see there was a massive crowd, and the leadership, they were there, 2 or 3 of them. Not everybody who was a leader. He will tell you of what happens.
SG Sifuna, how do you determine the message for each particular meeting? Or it's just everyone to come and speak your mind?
Well, first of all, I want to correct my brother there that in fact these political rallies, we do endeavor to have some sort of uniformity in messaging. There are things that we have agreed upon need to come out in terms of the core message, what it is that we intend to do for the people. For instance, there are messages that are determined to be no-go zones, which is where our friends find themselves in trouble with things like Madoadoa. It is very exciting, by the way, to be in front of a crowd of thousands and thousands of people. So it is not always possible to regulate every single word that will come out of a politician's mouth. But what you give is general guidelines of what is the thrust of the message. Sam, I really want us to move away from this pretense. You know, unless you are a stranger in Jerusalem, you know that these claims of rigging of elections has been around us ever since we started voting at multi-party elections. And for me, I would really encourage, you know, in South Africa after the fall of apartheid, there was something called a Truth, Justice, Reconciliation Commission, that in fact people be allowed to speak freely about some of the things that have happened in the past. I was very encouraged, for instance, when somebody like Mike Sonko comes out and he said, you know, we usually blame ODM for violence, but some of it, we staged it ourselves, you know, because we have struggled as a party with this image that we are a violent party, yet there are other players who actually actively contribute to this. When ODM has raised the specter of election rigging in the past, they have said that we are crybabies. So if somebody from the other side comes out and says, by the way, this thing, we have done it before. And by the way, in my view, Sabina's statement must be taken in context. The first part and the second part. Of course, I would never encourage any leader to allude that, in fact, there was any intention to subvert the will of the people.
Well, the first part is?
That is what we are. But the first part, that in fact, in the past, there have been reports of rigging. She was just echoing what happened in 2017. You can call it something technical, but Maoka would ask you, what was that technical problem supposed to achieve? If you refuse, for instance, the constitution or the law requires you to send a physical picture of the results form and also to transmit it in text. If you don't do that, you call it technical. But what is it supposed to achieve? I, as SG of ODM, I was not SG then, but I was one of the lawyers in that election petition. I was charged with the audit of the server at IEBC. We spent days there, my brother Sam, and they refused to allow access, even with a court order from the highest court in the land. Even up to today, they have never opened the server of IEBC for us to be able to see which results were in there. So if somebody tells you, you know, rigging of elections is like infidelity. In law, they tell you, you cannot prove that your wife has slept with someone. is very difficult to prove because you probably need access to the room, video, and so on and so forth. It comes down to something called inclination and opportunity. That is how you prove infidelity. So even in rigging, it is very difficult to find somebody with, a stash of ballots, physically putting them in the box. But where there is questions and circumstantial evidence, for instance, the inference that was drawn by the Supreme Court, by the refusal by IEBC to open the server, which they have never done to date, was that there was something sinister in there. The so-called technical challenges or problems that were highlighted must have been to achieve a certain end. So let us not pretend like we don't know that
now,
there have been problems with the election.
When Sabina Chege says that sio wao tu wako na ujanja, what does that mean?
That's what I'm telling you. I have started by saying, I would never countenance anybody suggesting that we could subvert the will of the people at an election. That is not who we are. And especially from our perspective as ODM, having been victims from 2007 up to date, having been victims of election manipulation, we would never advocate for that. And because we actually believe that we have a superior message, we have a superior agenda, it is possible for us to just go to the people and convince them that we have a better plan for the country than anybody else. But what we do not want is this hypocrisy. And as a lawyer also, I have a few problems with the IEBC summoning Sabina Chege. If you are calling somebody to appear before a code of conduct enforcement committee, when has that code of conduct checked in? Because I know as an aspirant, I will sign a code of conduct at the date of nomination when I present my papers to the IEBC. As far as I know, none of us, maybe if Koech has signed. And the jurisdiction of the IEBC only begins when you have signed a code of conduct.
I thought they said that the Election Offences Act and the code of conduct come to effect once the commencement of election period.
No, they are talking about enforcement of a code. You have to subscribe to that code. There is no indication that, for instance, Sabina is running for any.
Fine.
Subscribe to the code before you.
But when they gazetted,
and the IEBC's mandate does not extend to limiting the right of people to free expression. There is a different entity that is supposed to do this. So I am also going to be accompanying Sabina because I am very interested to know what is this jurisdiction that the IEBC is invoking.
That's interesting because just when they published the notice of general election on the 21st of January, they also said that the Code of Conduct and the Election Offences Act become effective. So I'm just wondering, you don't it apply because the member has not.
I am saying that ordinarily the Code of Conduct Enforcement Committee would come in force after we have signed the Code of Conduct, after we have subscribed to the code.
All right.
If, for instance, some preacher somewhere, if it wasn't a politician.
But Mheshimiwa, if you are running, and I know you are running, would you go and be a guest in Harambee this weekend?
No, I wouldn't.
Why?
I wouldn't go because the law is that, but it is not even the IEBC to enforce that. That is not the mandate of the IEBC.
December 9 came into force.
Yeah, I know.
2 August.
Yeah.
So why would you not say that one is part of the Electoral Code of Conduct?
No, but that's what I'm saying. The Enforcement Committee of IEBC, that's the body we are addressing. It is possible that there are other enforcement bodies that would come into play. Okay. Because the law is there.
All right. I'll give an opportunity to Honorable Mbui and Honorable Koech to respond to that. But also I want us to also look at what has been happening. There appears to be 3 key formations at the moment. We have Azimio la Umoja, mainly Jubilee and ODM. We have One Kenya Alliance, mainly, or rather, Wiper Party, KANU, UDP, and NARC Kenya. Then on this other side, there's Kenya Kwanza Alliance, not yet registered, but with the parties UDA, Ford Kenya, and ANC. There's something that the leaders of One Kenya Alliance said over the weekend. Listen.
Mazungumzo iko inaendelea na watu wa Azimio. Mazungumzo iko inaendelea na watu wa Jubilee. Na tutazungumza. Na sisi si waoga. Na sisi hakuna mtu atatukalia.
Tumeanza kuzungumza na wengine. Viongozi wengine wa Kenya ambao wanatoka chama zingine, ambayo tunasema ni like-minded. So patie sisi hiyo nafasi tusungumuze, alafu tutapika hapa sisi sote. Ndio? Na tunanyinyi najua ni nani? Tunajua. Na unajua pale sisi hatuwezi kuenda, tunajua.
Lakini Jirongo na Mandijimba Gideon hapa na dada huyu tukasema hawa watu wako na uzoefu, hatutaki serikali ya wizi, tumechoka na kuibiwa.
Hatutaki mtu atuletee maneno eti tuingie chama moja. Chama moja tulitoka, sasa tunataka vyama vingi na tunaungana tukisema safari hii mtachagua mtu na sio chama.
All right. So, Honorable Mbui, when Cyrus Jirongo is saying that mazungumzo with Azimio yanaendelea, how far are you and what timelines have you given yourselves?
Yeah, Sam, you know, there was a very, very hot topic that you've just stopped, when you got to me. On the comments made by my sister, the Honorable Member for Murang'a. And I would like to say that for political leaders during this campaign period, we have to be very careful what we say. But when you watch the clip and you see her, I guess she was speaking in a light note. But unfortunately, I think the joke was was in bad taste. I think that's what I would say. I don't think I don't think she was trying to castigate anyone. But having said that, it's a fact that elections have had a problem in this country, and that is the reason why NASA had a petition against Jubilee in 2017. We don't want to go back there. The president said he will revisit, but I think he's changed his mind since then. We don't want to go back there. But the fact is that there were problems in the last election, which we must cure. And every time you notice when we're going towards an election, we have a number of changes within the electoral laws so that we can be able to ensure that the elections are more credible as we go into the next election cycle. In fact, some of the things that we are curing in the Political Parties Act, in the New Elections Act, are things that are to do with the mistakes that were made by ABC in the last election.
Correct.
So I think it's important that we know that there were problems and we need to move from there. I mean, you remember the Honorable Member for Kandara, Alice Wahome, attacked a returning officer from my region, and then really slapped them publicly in front of people because there is something he wanted done, but he was not playing ball. So I think it's important that we address that matter because we can't sweep it under the carpet. But let's go to this issue that you've raised, which is, my leaders have talked about, which is teaming and working together. Can I say that if you look at the people that are within the Azimio movement and the people in the One Kenya Alliance, a lot of them have certain things in common. For example, my party leader and the leader of ODM have worked together from 2013 to 2017, supporting each other in the presidential race. So even though we've had our differences, I don't think the principle of these two gentlemen has changed. So I think at the end of the day, there's a very big likelihood that they would work together because you cannot support someone in 2013, support them in 2017, work with them for those two election cycles, and then say that this person is not fit enough. So I think at the end of the day, I do believe that the whole network will come together because at the end of the day, what we want is a Kenya that is prosperous, a Kenya that has opportunities for everyone. And we must ensure that to do that, we have the right people at the helm of this country. There is a way we might play this game and the wrong people end up in leadership. And I think Kenyans know the kind of leadership we are. I mean, you go to my village and ask a nursery school child who shouldn't be president, and they will tell you. It's almost obvious because
I don't know who
the minute, look, let's go back to history. The president in his first term told us that the government is losing a lot of money to corruption. And he told us that he's realized the biggest thieves are in his own office. At one time, I thought it was a secretary, maybe his PAs, and I realized they have no access to government funds. So what comes out later is that, in fact, the deputy was the one he was talking about. So really, we have problems within this system. And you know what the deputy president did to our children in Langata? The children of Kathiani still remember that. They have nightmares because they watched it on telly. So I think there are those people that we do not want to allow opportunity to get to leadership of this country. And if we do not organize ourselves well, Kenya can end up in the wrong hands, and we don't want to go backwards. We also do not want...
Honorable Mbui, I asked you a question on how far the talks between One Kenya Alliance and Azimio are. You ended up speaking about who should not be president. But I mean, because...
He has an obsession with the deputy president.
No, I'm not obsession with anyone.
Just talk your points. You don't have to...
I'm not obsession. I think I have a problem, being a person of integrity. I have a problem with
no integrity.
leadership.
Just focus, my friend.
I have a problem with people in leadership who show little integrity. I think that's a problem I have.
All right, Honorable Mbui, because that's your opinion. Let's be specific here, because we were told that One Kenya Alliance will be depositing their instruments, their coalition instruments, on the 28th of February. I don't know that that's a deadline you want to keep. Secondly, there is the requirement that if you want to register a coalition political party, where Azimio would be, then you have to do so by 9th of April, which is 120 days before the election. So how are you dealing with these two timelines? Are you still going to register OKA as a coalition on 20th?
Let me say that you've heard my leaders, and they are very explicit that there is a possibility of teaming up together going forward. And we have time. We are talking like this.
Indeed, we do have time.
We have time to do all that. We have time to get together and negotiate and agree on how a working formula. I think I can tell you the real issue here is a working formula, because Jubilee is by itself a party, and Azimio has come together with a number of parties, and One Kenya Alliance has also come together with a number of parties. There's a possibility that we can all get together and find a working formula into the next election. This is a pre-election, agreement that we are working on, and I do know that those who sit in the negotiation table, I'm not one of them, but I know that there are talks because our party leader has expressed, and we as the neck of the party have allowed him to go and negotiate. But we are very clear, and that's why I'm saying that even as we talk about negotiating and talking to other people, we were very clear who we shouldn't talk to. That is a party position.
That's okay, but will you go ahead to register One Kenya Alliance on 20th of Feb?
No, that's a story for another day. I'm not...
Is it a yes or no?
Or
you don't know?
Let me say I don't know.
Can I help you?
We'll answer it.
On the one
no, I'll come to you.
No, I want to help you because, you see, even the law that we passed allows that. Yeah, yes. after the coalition, you can register your coalition and still come and join another coalition. So there is no really...
SG Sifuna, he's the organizing secretary of YP.
What I'm trying to wonder...
Who is harassing who now? I'm asking questions.
I'm trying to wonder what the
questions are innocent. It is the answers that come from them that you can only think about.
Partners. There's nothing wrong with that.
All right. So, Honorable Koech, UDA, Ford Kenya, ANC. I had something over the weekend, or is it sometime last week, on Moses Wetangula saying when Deputy President becomes president, I thought the parties were coming together and they would find a way of picking a candidate for the election. But how far are those talks in forming a coalition or whatever alliance that will be for Kenya Kwanza?
Before I come to Honorable Wetangula and Salim Mudavadi, allow me quickly. First of all, you see, you've paired me 3 Azimio against one Kenya Kwanza.
He is One Kenya Alliance.
He is, what do you mean? He's Azimio. So you should also be giving me enough space, particularly maybe even after each one of them speaks, you let me come in between. But nonetheless, let me just go to Honorable Sabina Chege. So Honorable Sabina Chege has actually opened a lead of exactly what was being discussed behind closed doors. It is a plan that is out there. Number one, it should not even be condemned, because it started with Honorable Oburu Odinga. I said this time round we have the system. Raila Odinga, who's been lauded and has been the greatest supporter of electoral justice, for once is quiet on what is happening, because this time round it looks like it will benefit his contest. So for Sabina Chege to have made...
Are you saying it's existent? It's something that has happened before?
No, for Sabina Chege, I'm not speaking on... I don't know if there was...
No, you're saying that it's going to
All I'm saying is that an election rigging is not an event. It is a process.
Okay.
You can see even when you can see the picture of who the envoys met. There is ICT, Joe Musheru, ICT CS, and there is Interior CS. Already, these two have taken sides. they have come out openly to say, we will support Honorable Raila Odinga. So to rig an election, don't wait for the election day. It is started by different actors, and it's a process. And you can see as it is now, there are so many things that are happening that are in favor of Raila Odinga that is being orchestrated by the state. What Sabina Chege is simply saying was not supposed to have been said in public. It was meant for what they've been discussing in private. It has come out. It should not be taken lightly. It is something very, very serious. She must answer. In fact, if it is a serious offense even to warrant IEBC denying Sabina Chege clearance if she was to run for any office. Because that the biggest problem that we've had as a country is election cost violence. And that is what you're saying now. There's a hyped tension out there, and people actually are slowly believing that, oh yeah, there could be something. It works against or for individuals. Because you kill the morale of the people who probably are supporting the other side and boost the morale of those ones who think the system now is on their side. I was asking one of my colleagues from Luo Nyanza was telling me in Parliament that even their own people to register to come and vote in the general election is very difficult because they've been told you don't have to register to be a voter. True. The system will work for you, and they actually believe that the system is going to help them.
That's not true. The numbers.
That is why they closed. That is why.
Honorable Koech, as a lawmaker, just hold on.
But why I gave this guy the opportunity? I didn't even interject.
Yes,
why is it?
It's not true.
But you will have your turn, my brother.
Honorable Koech, just relax, yeah.
I will not sit here and listen to you tell an open lie.
Now let me come to Oka.
No, Sam.
You cannot just go and listen to the question.
No, we need a clarification.
I will clarify.
We are national television. We do not want to continue the same weaved narrative about the potential for rigging. When
I didn't say. It is Sabina who said she's appearing before IBC.
Just hold on, Honorable Koech.
You are going to respond. I'm saying so.
But you interjected me.
Honorable Koech, you still have your time.
If you keep on interjecting, you are losing your chance.
Okay.
I'm saying, if in the unfortunate event you have these kind of people leading the country, for the last 4 years they have been having crowds and the crowns and crowns. Then all of a sudden they have realized there is competition for those crowds and they no longer mean anything. At that moment, they now start screaming about rigging. So they are preparing their supporters that they cannot lose an election. It can only be rigged. And this is before national television. That's why I'm saying he should not be allowed to get away with that narrative.
All right.
On a program like this.
As you respond to that, also, as a lawmaker, you know how for you to participate in a general election or whichever election, you know what you need to do. So when you say that in some parts, did you say Nyanza, that people are being told you don't need to register the system?
No, I was saying one of my colleagues from Luo Nyanza was telling me that he's finding a headache mobilizing people to go and register because there is this thing that they've been made to believe that for once the system will work in their favor. And people are saying, okay, if we have the system, why do you need me to register? And that is why you saw there was a heightened activity to actually come out and educate people on the need to vote. That aside, Malcolm Ore wants me to come and defend what I did not say. I'm simply working on what Sabina Chege said. Sabina Chege said, watajua hawajui. Vile tulifanya 2017, ni vile tutafanya. Wao ndio wanafikiria ni wajanja. You've just played the video.
But from what you know, was there anything that happened in 2017 that aided the candidature of Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto?
Surely, what question is that? The evidence is there.
No, I'm asking.
There's a Supreme Court
I'm asking Honorable Koech.
It is important. It is important. You see, IEBC should be seen to be not to be participating in any electoral injustice. And for Sabina Chege to have come out, that's why I'm saying the responsibility now is huge on Sabina Chege to explain what she knows about 2017 if there was rigging. The Deputy President himself has come out to say, no, there was no rigging in 2017. I hold that view that there was no rigging in 2017. But to say, Sabina Chege to say there was rigging and to say we will go ahead and use what we used in 2017 is a serious allegation. Sabina Chege is not just an ordinary member of parliament. This is a legislator who was the ear and the eye of the president.
She doesn't.
Okay? So I am telling you,
she said has nothing to do with the president.
What does having the eye of the president mean? I'm a bit confused.
Yes. Yeah, okay, all right. Honorable Koech, you've said many...
I know where you're going.
You've said... Just alone, SG Sifuna, you've said many things, but if you say that it's not true, there was no rigging that happened in 2017, but also say that Sabina Chege raising claims she's close to the president would know, then I'm lost.
This is a story that is gaining currency. Oburu Odinga said that this time we have the system. Sabina Chege has come in to say again, we will rig the election.
The DP has told us there is nothing like that.
Different actors who are supposed to facilitate free and fair election are not facilitating that free and fair election. They are not seen to be facilitating. You have an interior CS who has taken sides. You have an ICT CS who has taken sides. Actually,
let me ask you,
the entire cabinet of what has remained in office are supporting Raila Odinga's candidature. That is worrying. That is why these envoys had to be assured that there was going to be free and fair election. And as I told you...
Honorable Koech, I'm not sure what you're saying is factual, because there are certain CSs you have not seen anywhere in public rallies.
Largely what is remained is...
So let me ask you this question. The Western envoys met CS Yatani, CS Musheru, CS... Matiang'i and so many other government officials, including the Principal Secretary in charge of Foreign Affairs. In your view, who should they be meeting if you have a problem with these cabinet secretaries?
I don't know, but there should be first of all, they should be reprimanded. They should keep off politics unless they want to resign.
No, I'm asking, if the Western envoys need a meeting with government officials in Kenya, who should they be meeting?
Maybe once we meet.
There should be an independent body that is going to oversee an election, because these guys are not independent anymore.
No, I'm talking about, because they might organize a meeting with IBC, but if you have to meet the executive of...
You can meet all the stakeholders. Meet all the stakeholders. What is wrong with that? Inviting all the stakeholders and say, guys, what do you think that we should do to prepare for a free and fair election?
All right.
Sam, can I ask if you're going to play the clip by Murkomen saying that the president is planning violence and whether anybody has summoned him?
But we've made...
I was asking Sam.
But you know, you've made so many outrageous let us not go into Murkomen.
So can we agree that there can be outrageous statements?
No.
But you see, Sabina Chege is outrageous statements.
SG Sifuna, you know, we have spoken about what Honorable Koech is talking about. He's even lost... his line of thought on One Kenya Alliance, but probably we might get another opportunity. Let's first listen to what the president said as we focus on what role he's going to play in the August general election.
Inchi sio ya mtu binafsi. Inchi ni vitendo ambavyo vinabadilisha maisha ya wananchi. Na ndipo tukisema ya kwamba we are interested in continuity. We are interested in continuity of programs like this. And we want to work with people who have that interest. Yeah? And you cannot do that without working together with others. You cannot do that if you do not have peace and harmony amongst your people.
All right, let me begin with you, Honorable Malcolm Aure, because the president has been very clear over the past 1 week, including indicating his preferred presidential candidate, saying that he's supporting Azimio la Umoja. And it's within his right, as has been said by several people. But then again, when you look at an exiting head of state and taking a position that he's taking, what do you think should be the limits, and what are the next steps that you're likely to see of the president on the campaign trail, from what you know?
I believe the president is living in a very exceptional circumstance, whereby the players in the political field, what he sees, he can only see and wish to secure his legacy. And the only person who seems to be a threat to his legacy is his deputy. In the sense, the only way to secure it is the direction the president is wishing to state. But if you remember the last 5 years, and I think I mentioned it about it last week here, and Nelson Koech can bear me witness, there is the Harambee House Annex, In the last 5 years, the deputy president has not operated from that office for more than maybe 30 days in 5 years. Now,
how did you count that?
No, but it is, he never operates from there. So when you have somebody who has left the office, he was supposed to have been part of the cabinet. You know, the cabinet has been meeting since 2019, and most of it is chaired by Matiang'i. So he never attends the cabinet meetings. So I can tell you from 2019 up to date, the deliberations of 90% of the cabinet work, he is not privy to it.
Honorable Maure, is it his own making? Because why would he attend a cabinet meeting chaired by the
Yes,
CS?
That is exactly why it was made that way, so that he doesn't attend. So it's good to be honest.
So it's structural elimination.
No, now in that process of elimination, you see the president has seen this man is a problem to my legacy. So when he has been running the affairs of the country without him in many ways. Now, when he comes out now, and in that period when he ran away from the office, he has actually been out in the field, okay? Doing rallies and rallies and rallies. Because when you come to a place like 5 times in a rally, you are not opening any project, you are not bringing any promise of government which you are a deputy. It's just about the next election, next election, next election, until the president felt agitated. And I think you heard him very clearly in Bomas about the baton. When you are passing the baton, you pass on to a person, you are moving in the same direction. But he says this one was moving in the opposite direction. So that's why I don't see why it is strange now when you say he is not with him. He said why he can't be with him at Bomas before the national television. But people didn't want to pick it that way. They still pretended, oh, they are together, they are playing Raila. You know, that was the language of almost everybody who wanted to do to have their cake and eat it politically. So when you hear the president coming out, if you think he is a pushover, then ignore him. Why is he a subject of every political rally you are going? It is the president, because they have realized if you campaign against him, you rally your troops. But they are not aware how many they are antagonizing.
That's what I'm asking. To what is the extent of President Kenyatta's involvement in this succession?
No, he has no opportunity, or he does not have that free will of saying, let me sit aside and wait for whoever wins. There are those who can win and go for him. That's what he means by saying, I'm not going to sit down, I'm going to campaign for my candidate.
And there are people who can win and go for him. What does that mean?
But they have been saying it.
That?
Did you hear Musalia Mudavadi's speech at Bomas of Kenya?
Tell me about it. What did he say?
No, you didn't hear it. It was covered live on
tell me.
By his citizen.
I'm asking.
There is nothing to say. I'm saying the bile they have on the president, both of them for not endorsing them at different times. This one had carried the baggage of 2013 and the story of demons. This other one is carrying the baggage that, oh, in Jubilee you can't have anybody, you have to go for somebody else outside. You know, that kind of bitterness combined. So the president has to fight it. And they fight it and win. And he doesn't have an opportunity of losing. You know, if you lose...
so is that a personal war or,
no.
for the nation?
No, it's a national problem. Because the issues these people are raising, they have not come out, even if you look at their program. The last 10 days or 10 rallies, nobody has said what they can do for Kenyans. They are just bashing and abusing the president. No, they are bashing and abusing. Just listen to any rally.
Look at Nyeri yesterday.
Let's listen to the deputy president. He spoke in Nyeri yesterday on what he said.
Tumekuwa na mjadala inayosema ambaye rais wetu alituambia yake 10 na ya Ruto 10. Si ndio? Lakini mimi sitaki 10 saa hii. Nataka tuandikiane kwanza hii mkataba ya miaka 5. Nikifaulu kwa hii miaka 5 muniongezee. Lakini nikianguka kwa hii miaka 5 mtafuta mtu mwingine.
All right, that is the Deputy President who was speaking in Nyeri yesterday, and he says that they are going to begin a process of collecting views, engaging the people to come up with a manifesto for 2022 general election. Honorable Mbui, in your view, the same question I asked Honorable Maure, looking at what it is, the relationship between the president and his deputy, when should the president stop? Or what is the extent that he should go in this political phase?
Sam, if you look at the mandate given to the head of state, and the amount of work and the hopes and aspirations of all Kenyans are on his shoulders. If the things that he has started to do for this country are taken backwards by the person who takes over after him, then it means that, the legacy dies. And there is nothing that the president has done which is not supposed to be able to improve this country. And he's noticed that some of the people that are opposing him, it is so personal that they are likely to change everything that he has stood for. I've heard them talk even about education, and they've talked about the CBC system. A system that our children have invested, because the grade 5 children have already invested 7 years of their lives in this system. And somebody wakes up and says, because it is Uhuru's program, that immediately they take over, they will scrap it. What do you do with the 7 years that our children have invested in that system? It has not been tried and failed. It is in the process of implementation. But already people have decided, just because of politics, that they'll fight it. So I think the president is right to find a way by which he can be able to continue the programs that he has started. He's starting the program of universal health care. What tells you that, just like Obama, Obama had his Obamacare, and then what happened immediately after that? Somebody takes over and they start clawing back.
But I thought I heard Deputy President William Ruto saying that he is going to enhance it.
Well, fine, he would have said that. But you see, I'm just saying that the president, it's not just one item. I've just used that as an example, actually. I've just thrown in that as an example. Okay. But the fact is that you want to ensure that if it is a rail system that you're coming up with, it's going to continue up to where, up to where it was meant to reach, so that the people can achieve the real benefits. So there's a lot of things that the president has started, but already we can see that these people are hell-bent on ensuring that when Uhuru leaves office, they fight him. And fighting him means making sure that everything he stood for fails. And that's the problem, because we've invested so much money in the last 10 years. So I think the president is right to ensure he finds somebody, or he supports someone who can take over from him, or a team that can take over from him, so that there's continuity. This business of taking over and negating all the gains the country has made is unfortunate. And that's why our democracy is still quite far behind. So I think it's important that the president also participates. Another thing is, people are talking as if the president ceases to become a Kenyan citizen the minute he leaves office. He is still a Kenyan citizen. He requires services also from his country and from the future leaders. So it's important that he participates in politics like every one of us. I will tell you that all these people that were in parliament, all those who are senators, governors that lost their offices, they went to vote and they will still vote again. So why is it that the president is supposed to keep quiet
all right, I hear you, Honorable Boy, but SG Sifuna, is the president that powerful that they can actually go against the legacy of their predecessor, that President Kenyatta should be so worried about that?
Yeah, I think it can be done, because you have to worry about, as a country, we needed to have a blueprint, something akin to the Vision 2030. That it didn't matter from which political persuasion you were elected from or what your policies were, that in fact there is this grand national plan that we all plug into. This is what China has done very successfully, that they come up with a plan that is 50 years in the making, and we all are able to say that if we all contributed to this particular vision, we would get somewhere. So yes, the successor has some influence on some of the programs. But I just wanted to comment on some of the things that were said at that rally. First, it's very interesting that it was not a rally. He has started consultative meetings like the ones we did last year across the country. The only difference is that he is not giving the ordinary people the microphone there to tell them the experience that they have had with his government in the past 9 years. How do you ask people for a 5-year contract, yet you have actually failed them in the past 9 years? William Ruto is not a fresh aspirant to claim that, give me a 5-year contract and then you can review it after that. There is actually a record against which it can be reviewed. In my view, he is a pathological liar and has been caught many times telling open lies about a road that he claims is complete that is not completed? What about the promises that he made previously? Where are the stadia that he promised the people? Where are the 1 million jobs that he promised the young people? Before we make any new promises, can you please account for the old promises that you make? Number two, there was great irony when he was speaking and saying, you people have failed as the opposition. I think William Ruto was waiting for an opportunity to get back at Musalia Mudavadi for what he did to him at Bomas. Because at Bomas, Musalia was talking about a failed government in the presence of a deputy president who's largely responsible for many of the problems we have right now. So he was just waiting and telling them to get an opportunity to also tell Musalia in his presence that you have failed as the opposition. You remember, Sam, there was a time after the handshake when Musalia announced himself as now the new opposition chief in town. And I don't think it lasted more than a week. So I think DP was waiting for an opportunity to say that. And lastly, there was something he said that really worried me. He said that opposition is easy. You know, we are giving William Ruto another 6 months and he will discover how difficult it is to be in the opposition. All his life, he has been on the government side, enjoying all this government protection, and in fact being part of a system that is very oppressive. To him, it's very easy to be Reverend Njoya. All you need to do is to lie down to be clobbered. It's very easy to lie down to be clobbered because you're fighting for something. It's very easy to chill in a cell because you've been detained for 9 years. That is what opposition is, to fight for something. You're protesting in accordance to your rights under the Constitution, and you're tear gassed and beaten by the police. All these tears and blood that have been shed and lives that have been lost because of the clamor for a better country is what he thinks is easy. So we are waiting to see how he will perform. Luckily for him, we are going to have a government of people who actually believe in a free and fair state.
Wow. Honorable Koech, so now there has been so much contestation from your side on what the president is doing, saying that he actually, one Malala said that he needs to get off from where he's speaking from and get to the ground. But why is it so much an issue for Deputy President and the people around him on the involvement of the president? What are the fears?
Sam, the president is running for his third term this coming general election. Raila Odinga is a puppet. He's just being placed there. That is why you find the state machinery has been deployed to assist him for once. That is our problem. There was wisdom in the Constitution that an elected president should serve, or a governor should serve for 10 years. It doesn't matter whether he has a legacy or not. It is in that wisdom that they knew someone else will come and carry over from where you've left. It is not that Uhuru Kenyatta loves Kenya more than we do. Why does he think that he needs to be there for this country to prosper? We've had other leaders who've done their bit and left. The president needs to know when to stop. All he can do is to facilitate a smooth transition in this election. He doesn't seem to be doing that. In fact, if you went further in the clip that you've just showed us, he said in Mombasa that tutakuja tena hapa, tutawaomba kura, si mutatusaidia jameni, alafu mutatupitisha. That is exactly what he's saying. He's saying, I am in the ballot. Look at the activity last week, towards the end of the week, in State House, inviting young people to sing and being coached to sing against his deputy. The head of state is a symbol of national unity. That was an embarrassment.
Would this be any different if he kept his word, Kumia Uhuru, Kumia William?
He doesn't need to keep anything. All he needs to do is to give a level playing field and keep off the politics of the day. He's not an aspirant. That's why I'm telling you, we are running against Uhuru Kenyatta, and that is my worry. As they talk about legacy and who will secure legacy, I've seen Robert Mbui, who Kalonzo had said, in fact, that he was going to be very stupid to support Raila for third time, saying that the person who is best to secure that legacy is someone else other than William Ruto. There is no one who knows this government of Uhuru Kenyatta better than William Ruto. He served with them every success that was made and every failure that was made, they are both tied. Okay. They joined. So there is nothing. William Ruto, let me ask you, Sam, today, how will Sifuna's party come and implement Jubilee's manifesto?
We're not implementing Jubilee's manifesto.
Then you
have said that there has to be continuity in the programs that have been started for the benefit of the public.
Honorable Koech, you are running out of time.
As I finish,
yes, please. Quickly.
Is it not funny that for once, instead of building his party, Uhuru Kenyatta has moved out to Jubilee to support
no, he's
ODM?
Revamping his party.
Okay, all right. Let's leave it at that. We'll never finish. We'll get another chance. Efokango, as One Kenya Alliance, we are clear where we are headed. There is no doubt about that. Yellow is not an option. We shall register Oka Coalition on or before 20th of Feb. In a few days, we shall have some volcanic activities in readiness for our journey. Okango is the spokesperson of One Kenya Alliance. Engineer Lazaro is saying presidency is a political office being occupied by a politician. You can separate the holder of political office from politics. Kiprop Kenya, political correctness is destroying the very fabric of our society. Politicians are fond of making rather reckless statements for political convenience and to excite the masses. Okelo Mwalimu, the day DP will appoint his running mate, all hell will break loose. And if he appoints Mudavadi, Central will be gone. If he opts for Mount Kenya, Kenya Kwanza itaisha, and a few Mudavadi supporters will join Azimio. Consequently, Mudavadi, Weta will be washed to oblivion. Chalo Woodrosin, big parties' nominations in most cases are chaotic and big politicians normally buy the certificates. This is because in some regions, having a particular party certificate is as good as waiting to be sworn in by the IBC. Well, I'm not sure IBC swears people in. Anyway, Papadolo, it is not only UDA, ODM and ANC also registered people without their knowledge or consent. Everyone can check their status on the e-citizen portal. Currently, everyone with an ID is a registered member of the party that managed to register them. Parties are scrambling for IDs. Omwando Vickery, Azimio, One Kenya Alliance and other like-minded Kenyans must be ready to shelve personal interest for the sake of the Kenyans languishing in abject poverty. The greatest tragedy is having wrong people at the helm of the organizational leadership. Kenya deserves better. Abdirahman Ali, it is all survival tactics. Politicians will do anything to win back their seats by selling unrealistic manifesto. Once elections are over, we will never hear again a politician interacting with his or her electorate. This is hypocrisy, and politicians should serve humanity at heart. That's Abdirahman on your take this morning. SG Sifuna, Honorable Nelson Koech, and Honorable Mboka More, as well as Honorable Robert Mbui. And it's not true to say that we did not invite representation from Kenya Kwanza. We reached out. We were not able to raise a second representative to sit with Honorable Nelson Koech here. We'll strive to do the much we can to bring you all the perspectives in the political field. My name is Sam Gituku. Bye for now.